Most people spend their whole lives begging money to notice them, pleading, chasing, grasping, and they never realize that this desperation is the very force pushing abundance away. That was the first shock I received from a Jewish mentor who, without raising his voice or speaking in riddles, showed me that money responds to alignment, not pleading. He told me, when you beg, you declare lack. When you align, you invite wealth. At first, I thought it was poetic, but then he revealed a prayer so precise, so ancient, so rooted in spiritual law that it felt like opening a door I didn't know existed. Before we begin, I want you to take the first step, a symbolic step, but a powerful one. Write in the comments one sentence that represents the financial reality you want to create. Not what you fear, not what you lack, what you want. And here's why. When you declare desire publicly, you shift it from a private wish to a spoken intention. In Jewish wisdom, intention spoken aloud becomes instruction, a command the universe can obey. Your comment is not an interaction for the algorithm. It is the first crack in the walls that keep abundance out. When I first heard this principle, part of me resisted. I thought money responded to effort alone, hours, sacrifice, grit. But my mentor asked me a question that still echoes in my mind. If effort alone created wealth, wouldn't the hardest workers be the richest? I had no answer. He continued, money is not earned first. Money is attracted first. Only then does effort give it shape. Those words felt like a riddle and a revelation at the same time. He explained that most of us, without realizing, use the language of poverty every day. We say things like, money never stays, I can't afford that, I hope things get better, and we don't realize these sentences are small spells shaping our financial fate. In Jewish thought, speech is not commentary, it is creation. Every phrase is a seed, every sentence is a blueprint. And begging, whether through words, emotions, or energy, creates only more longing, never fulfillment. I felt something in me tighten, a quiet recognition of how often I had spoken from fear instead of intention, how often I had begged money to come instead of preparing myself to receive it. My mentor saw the shift in my expression and nodded. Good, he said. Awareness is the first opening. He told me there is a prayer, 1 minute long, that doesn't ask for money, doesn't plead for relief, doesn't bargain or negotiate. It aligns the soul with prosperity. It turns the vessel upright. It signals readiness, not desperation. This prayer, he said, must be understood before it can be used. Without understanding, the words are empty sound. With understanding, they become a key. I leaned in, sensing we were approaching the heart of the mystery. The rabbi placed his hand over his chest and said, before I show you the prayer, you must understand why begging blocks abundance in the first place. The rabbi's voice softened, carrying the weight of something ancient, as if every syllable had been polished by generations before him. Before you can attract wealth, he said, you must understand why begging repels it. He spoke the sentence slowly, letting each word settle like dust on untouched shelves. And something in me sensed that I was stepping into a truth far older than my fears. He continued, in Jewish wisdom, begging is not humility. Begging is resistance. I felt my breath catch. He explained that desperation is not an open door. It is a spiritual contraction. It tightens the vessel. It blocks the flow. It pulls your energy inward, collapsing the space through which abundance could enter. The universe, he said, cannot pour water into a clenched fist. I pictured myself, hands metaphorically curled around fear, calling it prayer. Begging, he went on, creates the vibration of lack. And in our tradition, like attracts like. When you plead, you declare emptiness. You affirm distance between you and the blessing you seek. You tell the world, I am without. And the world, obedient as a well-trained servant, responds accordingly. The words stung because they rang true. I had mistaken desperation for devotion, thinking intensity meant sincerity. But the rabbi shook his head gently. In the realm of the spirit, he said, intensity is not power, alignment is power. He opened a small worn book and turned it toward me. The prophets never begged for provision, they aligned with it. They spoke as if the blessing were already approaching. They created space for wealth before wealth arrived. They understood that the spiritual laws do not respond to pleading, they respond to preparation. He told me a story about a merchant from his grandfather's village. The man had fallen into deep debt and spent his nights crying out, "Please, God, send money. Please help me." His voice trembled with fear, not faith. He begged the heavens until his throat burned, and yet his situation worsened. One day, the elder rabbi told him, "Stop asking for money as if it is hiding from you. Money is not lost. You are simply not aligned with it." The man was stunned. But when he shifted from begging to preparing, organizing his shop, speaking differently, making space, customers returned. Not magically, naturally. Flow resumed because resistance dissolved. As the rabbi told this story, I felt a strange warmth in my chest, a quiet realization that my entire relationship with money had been built on tension, not trust. He closed the book gently, his eyes lifting to meet mine. Begging, he said, comes from fear. But wealth does not respond to fear. Wealth responds to worthiness, readiness, openness. You must become a vessel capable of receiving. I swallowed hard, feeling the lesson settle deep inside me, not as theory, but as recognition of a lifelong pattern unraveling. "And now," he whispered, leaning forward with a gravity that pulled the air taut between us, "you must see the hidden mistake in the language you use every day. The mistake that silently collapses your capacity to receive." The rabbi's eyes held mine with a quiet intensity, the kind that makes you feel exposed without a single accusation being spoken. "Now we arrive at the mistake almost everyone makes," he said, his tone low and steady. "A mistake so subtle you don't notice it, but it shapes your financial life more than any job, any economy, any opportunity." He leaned in slightly. "It is the way you speak about money." A small chill moved up my spine because I already sensed he was right. He continued, "People speak poverty into existence long before it appears in their bank accounts." His voice sharpened, not harsh, but precise, like a scalpel removing something poisonous. "They say, 'I can't afford that. Money never stays with me. Everything is expensive. I'm always behind. Nothing ever works out.' They think they are describing their reality, but in truth, they are instructing reality." I felt a sting of recognition. How many times had I said those exact sentences? How many times had I wrapped limitation inside casual words, pretending they were harmless? "In Jewish wisdom," he said, "your mouth is not a reporter, it is an architect. Every phrase becomes a beam, a brick, a wall, a door. And when you speak lack, you build a house too small for abundance to enter." He paused, letting the metaphor sink in. Most people do not live in scarcity. They live in the echo of their own sentences. He told me about a man from his grandfather's community, a tailor with gifted hands but a cursed tongue. Every morning, the rabbi said, he would open his shop and mutter, "Money is slow, business is dead, life is hard." He thought he was being honest. He believed he was simply acknowledging facts. The rabbi's expression darkened slightly. But the universe hears declarations, not descriptions. As days passed, customers trickled in more and more slowly. Even those who intended to order clothes forgot or postponed. The tailor believed he suffered misfortune. But the elder rabbi shook his head and told him, "Your words arrive before your customers do." I felt that line settle in me like a quiet revelation. The rabbi turned his attention back to me. "You must understand something essential. Your language establishes the emotional climate through which opportunities must travel. When you speak from fear, opportunities freeze. When you speak from limitation, they shrink. When you speak from emptiness, they avoid you entirely. A silence settled between us, not heavy, but awakening. He continued, softer now. You have been talking to your money like it is an enemy, like it is fickle, like it is scarce. And money responds exactly as it is spoken to. A lump formed in my throat. I realized how often I had narrated my financial struggles as if they were absolute truths instead of temporary seasons. The rabbi leaned back, his tone shifting from diagnostic to deeply guiding. Now that you see how your words have shaped your reality, you must understand the spiritual mechanics behind this. Why speech holds the power to open or close the gates of abundance. The rabbi opened the small worn book again, but this time he didn't read from it. Instead, he let his fingers hover over the page, as if feeling the weight of centuries contained in the ink. Now, he said softly, you must understand the spiritual psychology behind it all, because your words don't just describe your world, they design it. He tapped the page gently. The Talmud teaches that the tongue is a vessel of creation. What you speak becomes the architecture of what you receive. His voice deepened. Speech isn't noise, it is energy organized into instruction. I felt something shift inside me, a quiet recognition that this truth wasn't mystical, it was practical. The rabbi sensed the opening and continued. In our tradition, he said, wealth is not random. It flows through pathways, like water through channels. And your words either widen those channels or block them completely. He brought his hands together, forming the shape of a cup. Think of your mind, your emotions, your spirit as a vessel. When you say, I can't, you create a small vessel. When you say, I'm hopeless, you crack the vessel. When you say, I'm fine, you close the vessel entirely. He let his hands fall open. But when you speak possibility, when you speak intention, when you speak readiness, you expand the vessel. Then he shifted effortlessly into psychology. Your brain is a servant, he said. It takes your words as orders. If you say money is hard, your mind stops looking for opportunities. It shuts down the creative pathways needed for abundance. But when you say money is coming, your mind begins scanning for alignment, connections, solutions, decisions that bring that reality closer. I felt the truth of it ripple through me, memories of times when one sentence ruined my momentum, and times when another sentence revived it. The rabbi continued, speech affects your nervous system too. Begging activates fear. Declaring activates confidence. Confidence attracts action. Action attracts opportunity. And opportunity attracts wealth. He smiled softly. This is not magic. It is spiritual physics. To make it even clearer, he offered a metaphor so simple it struck instantly. Imagine a gate, he said. When you speak lack, you lock it. When you speak neutrality, you leave it stuck half shut. But when you speak expansion, you open it wide. Then he asked, what happens when a gate opens? I whispered the answer instinctively. Things can enter. The rabbi nodded. Exactly. He let the silence stretch, encouraging me to feel the metaphor instead of analyzing it. Then he added, this is why the 1-minute prayer works. It is not a wish. It is a code, a sequence that expands the vessel, opens the gate, and aligns you with the flow of provision. But his tone shifted suddenly, becoming quieter, more intimate. However, he said, most people never experience the true power of this prayer because they sabotage themselves with a second pattern, a trap far more dangerous than negative speech. He leaned closer, his voice dropping into a whisper that felt like a doorway opening. It is the trap of mistaking small progress for completion. The rabbi leaned back, his gaze steady, the kind of look that prepares you for a truth you might not want to face but desperately need. The second trap, he said, is not despair, it is comfort. His tone carried that soft firmness of someone who has watched this mistake ruin more lives than hardship ever could. People receive a small improvement, a raise, a good month, a lucky break, and they convince themselves the journey is complete. He shook his head slowly. But small progress is not prosperity. It is a preview. He told me, when the universe sees you moving, it responds with momentum. When it sees you stop, it pauses too. His fingers traced the rim of his mug. Wealth is a current. You do not swim once and expect to reach the shore. You keep moving, gently, consistently, to stay aligned with the flow. Then, with a sudden glimmer of humor that cracked the tension, he said, "My grandfather used to warn, a crocodile that falls asleep becomes a handbag." I laughed despite myself. The image was ridiculous, but the meaning was sharp. Complacency invites danger. Comfort invites stagnation. Victory invites sleep, and sleep invites loss. The rabbi nodded. People start the journey toward abundance with fire in their heart. They break patterns, they shift their words, they create space. And then, after the first blessing arrives, they relax, they lower their guard. He leaned in. But abundance requires presence. The moment you step away from alignment, the flow hesitates. He paused long enough for the truth to take root. Your mind plays a role too, he said. The brain is wired to conserve energy. The moment it senses relief, it starts shutting off the systems that produce growth. Ideas slow. Opportunities seem less visible. Motivation weakens. And without noticing, people drift back into the very patterns they escaped. A quiet heaviness settled in my chest because I recognized that pattern in myself. Times when things got a little better and I eased up, thinking I had already made it. But the rabbi wasn't judging. He was exposing the mechanism. He continued, the universe does not reward partial commitment. It responds to continuation. Then he added softly, most people lose their miracles by stopping too soon. He explained that the 1-minute prayer works not just because it opens the vessel, but because it maintains momentum. When you say the prayer every day, he said, you are telling the universe, I am not done. I am still expanding. I am still becoming someone capable of receiving more. I felt my breath deepen. The truth landed with a quiet, resonant certainty. But then his expression shifted, gentler, yet carrying a gravity that made my skin prickle. Still, he said, there is a mistake even more dangerous than this. A lie so soft, so seductive, that people cling to it without ever realizing it is suffocating their abundance. He folded his hands on the table. To understand the prayer, you must first confront that lie, the one phrase that shuts the gate faster than fear ever could. The rabbi's voice softened, not out of pity, but out of respect for the depth of what he was about to reveal. The third mistake, he said, is the most dangerous of all, because it hides inside a sentence that sounds harmless. A sentence people speak with a smile, with pride, with the illusion that they are being strong. He paused, allowing the silence to grow heavy. The lie is this: I'm fine. A strange ache bloomed in my chest. I had spoken that phrase countless times, thinking it made me humble or resilient. He watched my reaction closely. People use I'm fine to avoid discomfort, he said. They use it to avoid admitting their desires. They use it to avoid facing their stagnation. His eyes narrowed gently. But the universe takes your words literally. If you say you're fine, it stops sending more. He walked toward the shelf, pulled down a fragile-looking journal, and placed it on the table. Do you know what I'm fine means in spiritual terms? He asked. It means I do not need, I do not want, I am full, and a full vessel receives nothing. That sentence hit me like a quiet thunder. I felt myself sinking into the truth of it. The rabbi continued, people are not fine. They are tired, hopeful, dreaming, overwhelmed, longing for change. But they say they're fine because it feels safer than admitting desire. His voice lowered. Desire makes you vulnerable, but it also makes you magnetic. He opened the journal to a page covered in delicate handwriting. There was a study conducted years ago, he said, tracing the lines with his finger. Researchers followed individuals who frequently use neutral self-descriptions, phrases like, "I'm fine," "I'm okay," "I'm managing." They found an average 12% decline in financial growth over several years. He closed the book gently, not because the universe punished them, but because their words told their minds to stop reaching. I swallowed hard. It made perfect sense. If I told myself I was fine, why would my mind search for breakthroughs? Why would my soul stretch? Why would opportunities feel urgent or aligned? He leaned forward again. The phrase, "I'm fine," is spiritual sedation. It numbs your hunger. It dulls your intuition. It closes the gate. His voice grew even softer. But here is the truth you must carry. You are not meant to be fine. You are meant to expand. A warmth rose in my chest, a mixture of relief and awakening. He continued, "Once you stop pretending everything is okay, abundance can finally find you, because you create space for it. You admit need, you allow desire, and desire is the spark of creation." A long breath filled the room. The rabbi's next words came like a lantern being lit. "If a sentence can shut the gate," he whispered, "a sentence can open it." Then he straightened, a quiet certainty settling into his posture. "And now," he said, "you are ready for the Jewish wisdom prayer, the 1-minute sequence that reopens the gates and draws money toward you like water toward gravity." The rabbi sat down slowly, as though the chair itself had become part of a ritual, an anchor preparing the atmosphere for what was about to unfold. His eyes held a calm fire, soft enough to soothe, bright enough to awaken. "Now," he said, "you are ready for the prayer. Not because the words are complicated, but because you have cleared the noise that once distorted them." I felt something stir inside me, anticipation mixed with reverence. He took a long breath, and the room seemed to inhale with him. "This prayer," he continued, "is not about asking. It is about aligning. It is not a beggar's plea. It is a creator's declaration." He pressed a hand lightly against his heart. "It takes only 1 minute, but in that minute, you shift your posture from scarcity to readiness, from fear to openness, from chasing to attracting." He looked at me with a quiet depth. "And it must be spoken aloud. Whispered if you must, but spoken. Breath carries intention into the world." Then, with a slowness that made each word feel carved from ancient stone, he recited the prayer. "Thank you, God. I am open, I am deserving, and I am ready to receive the abundance flowing toward me." He let the sentence echo in the air before explaining it piece by piece. First, thank you, God. Gratitude ignites the spiritual field. It signals that your vessel is open, humble, receptive. Gratitude is the language of expansion. It tells the universe you are not clinging to lack. You are recognizing existing blessing and welcoming more. He lifted his second finger. Next, I am open. Openness breaks the shell around your spirit. It dissolves resistance. It untangles the tightness created by fear. To say I am open is to unlock the gate. Third finger. Then I am deserving. This is the heart of the prayer. Money does not go to the worthy, it goes to the aligned. But you cannot align with something you secretly believe you do not deserve. Worthiness is permission. Permission invites flow. Fourth finger. And finally, I am ready to receive the abundance flowing toward me. This is not hope, it is acknowledgement. Abundance is already in motion. You are not pulling it from nothing. You are stepping into its path. He leaned back slightly, eyes softening. When you combine these 4 elements, gratitude, openness, worthiness, readiness, you activate the spiritual mechanics of receiving. Money begins to move towards you not because you chased it, but because you became a match for it. I repeated the prayer silently, feeling something within me loosen, a knot untying, a breath deepening, a doorway cracking open. The rabbi smiled gently. Say it every morning. Set a reminder. Stop for 1 minute. Speak it with presence, not haste. Do this, and your reality will begin to reorganize around your new alignment. His voice dropped into a whisper, because this prayer is not theory. It has shaped real lives, people who shifted from scarcity to flow simply by changing the way they spoke to the universe. He paused, letting anticipation bloom. And now, he murmured, you must see what happens when this prayer touches someone willing to use it. The rabbi closed his eyes for a moment, as if searching through memory for a story precise enough to reveal the power of the prayer. When he opened them again, there was a tenderness there, an unmistakable warmth reserved only for moments when truth and transformation meet. Let me tell you about Samuel, he said softly, a man who discovered what happens when someone stops begging for money and starts aligning with it. He folded his hands in front of him. When Samuel came to me, he was drowning, not in bills, but in shame. He worked tirelessly, yet nothing grew. Every opportunity slipped through his fingers like water through a broken cup. And every time he opened his mouth to speak about his situation, he said the same 4 words, I'm doing my best. The rabbi shook his head gently, but he wasn't. He was surviving, not expanding. His words carried exhaustion, not intention. He was narrating limitation, not inviting abundance. I felt my chest tighten, recognizing parts of my own story in his. One afternoon, the rabbi continued, Samuel confessed that he felt invisible to money, like prosperity passed him by without even noticing. The rabbi's voice softened. He had been begging for relief in every prayer, pouring out desperation disguised as devotion, and none of it worked, because begging speaks the language of emptiness. That was the day the rabbi taught him the 1-minute prayer. At first, he said, smiling slightly, Samuel could barely say the words. Thank you, God. I am open, I am deserving, and I am ready to receive the abundance flowing toward me. They felt too big for him, too bold, too sacred, as if he were borrowing clothing meant for someone else. But he whispered them anyway. For 7 days, the prayer trembled out of him. By the 14th day, the trembling softened. By the 21st day, his voice carried weight, not loud, but grounded, like a person remembering an identity he hadn't claimed in years. And then, slowly, the external world began to shift. First came a small contract from a client who had ignored his messages for months. Then a former coworker reached out unexpectedly, offering him freelance work at triple his usual rate. He said yes without hesitation, something the old Samuel would never have done. Then came the breakthrough. On the 30th day, the rabbi said, his eyes glimmering, Samuel received a job offer from a company he once admired from a distance, a position he never applied for. They told him they found his portfolio online and were impressed by his consistency. The rabbi leaned closer. That was not coincidence. That was alignment. He explained that Samuel's reality didn't transform because he worked harder. It transformed because he stopped speaking like a man trapped in scarcity and began communicating like someone ready to receive. Money listens, the rabbi said gently. It rushes toward those who make space for it. A quiet stillness filled the room. Samuel's story didn't feel distant. It felt like a mirror, a reminder that change begins the moment our words stop fighting our desires. Then the rabbi's voice shifted, carrying a deeper resonance. But to sustain what you attract, he said, You must understand the blueprint behind Jewish prosperity, the foundation that keeps abundance flowing. The rabbi rested his palms on the table, as if anchoring the atmosphere for what he was about to share. His voice lowered, not out of secrecy, but out of reverence. Now, he said, you must understand the blueprint. Without it, the prayer brings opportunity, but with it, the prayer brings transformation. He reached for the ancient book again, but instead of opening it, he simply held it, letting its presence speak. In Jewish wisdom, he continued, prosperity is not a miracle. It is a pattern, a sequence, a spiritual architecture that, once understood, becomes impossible to ignore. He raised one finger. First, words create channels. Speech is the beginning of every blessing. Before abundance forms in the physical world, it must exist in the spoken world. Words open the path. A second finger. Second, alignment attracts. You do not chase wealth, you prepare for it. You become the person who can hold it without fear, without collapse, without shrinking. His gaze deepened. You cannot receive what you are not prepared to handle. A third finger. Third, action stabilizes the flow. Not hustle, not exhaustion. Aligned action, steps that match what you speak. In Scripture, blessings do not fall into closed hands. They fall into hands that are already moving. Then he lifted a fourth finger. And finally, consistency seals the container. Wealth leaks out of inconsistent vessels. The prayer, spoken daily, is not ritual. It is maintenance. It keeps the channel open. He exhaled slowly, letting the four principles hang in the air like pillars. Most people, he said, practice only one or two of these. They speak without acting. They act without aligning. Or they align once and never return to the practice. And then they wonder why abundance arrives in waves instead of flowing steadily. His tone took on a quiet intensity. Prosperity is not a single event. It is a relationship, a partnership between your inner world and the world that responds to it. He leaned forward slightly, his voice softer now. You are part of creation, and creation responds to you. The prayer is powerful, not because it changes the universe, but because it changes the way you engage with it. Then he offered a challenge, not sharp, but gentle, like a doorway quietly opening. Practice the prayer for 7 days, he said. 7, because creation itself was formed in that rhythm. 7, because transformation requires structure. 7, because the soul responds to cycles. His eyes held mine with unwavering clarity. If you speak the prayer each morning for 7 days, not as a wish but as alignment, watch what shifts. Not always dramatically, but unmistakably. A call, an idea, a small opening you once overlooked. The first tremors of abundance rearranging itself around your readiness. I felt the truth of it settle inside me, a quiet certainty. The rabbi closed his hand over the book. You now hold the pattern, the law, the mechanics behind receiving. All that remains is the blessing that seals your path forward. A stillness filled the room as he prepared to speak the final words that would bring the entire journey together. The rabbi straightened his posture, not with force but with a quiet dignity that signaled we had reached the threshold, the place where understanding becomes initiation. His hands rested softly on the table, his eyes warm with a depth that felt both ancient and intimately present. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a resonance I hadn't heard before. You have walked through the truth, he said. You have faced the mistakes, opened the vessel, learned the language, and embraced the prayer. Now it is time to seal what you have begun. He let the silence breathe for a moment. Remember, he continued, wealth does not respond to begging. It responds to alignment. Stop saying I'm fine when your soul is asking for more. Stop shrinking your desires to fit the limits of your past. Speak the prayer each morning, not as superstition, not as desperation, but as instruction. His voice deepened. Thank you, God. I am open, I am deserving, and I am ready to receive the abundance flowing toward me. He recited it slowly, letting each word settle like a seed planted in fertile ground. This, he said, is your new foundation, a declaration that stops pushing money away and begins drawing it toward you. A sentence that replaces fear with readiness, scarcity with expansion, begging with receiving. His expression softened, a quiet pride flickering across his features. And now, he murmured, you must receive the blessing that aligns your path with everything you have awakened. He lifted his right hand gently, not theatrically, but with the reverence of someone delivering something sacred. His voice shifted into a cadence that felt timeless. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his light upon you and show you grace. May the Lord lift his countenance toward you and grant you peace, clarity, and overflowing provision. The blessing rolled through the room like warm light, filling the space between us, settling into the spaces within me. I felt it, not as poetry, but as presence. A long, quiet silence followed, the kind of silence that does not demand a response, only a breath. Then the rabbi lowered his hand and leaned forward, his eyes steady. There is one final action, he said, a gesture that completes the cycle you have begun. It is simple but powerful. He paused, ensuring the moment settled. Share this with 3 people who need it, he said, not as advice, not as instruction, as blessing. In our tradition, blessing grows when it is given. Wealth expands when shared. Light strengthens when passed from hand to hand. His voice softened to a whisper. What you give multiplies. What you hide withers. He closed the ancient book beside him, sealing the teaching with a gentle thud. Walk forward, he said. Speak with intention. Receive without fear. Expand without apology. Your abundance has already begun its journey toward you. And then the room fell silent, filled with the unmistakable sense that something sacred had been completed.